welcome back. And in this segment, we will be talking about the 29th Arab League Summit, which has kicked off in the city of Al Dhahran in Saudi Arabia. Already the inaugural speeches were made by several heads of states, as well as, of course, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who addressed the Arab League, calling for the Arab unity and stressing the importance of the Arab cooperation at such a crucial time when the region is being challenged by many external and internal challenges. And to discuss some of the highlights of or important topics to be discussed during this particular important summit, I'm happy to have with me Dr. Cherif and Amir, and he's a geopolitical analyst at Paris University. Good afternoon and welcome with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, the Arab Summit, this session, the 29th Summit, comes at a crucial time where there are so many things going on in the Arab world. We have the tripartite attack on Syria. We have, of course, the Palestinian issue, which is one of the issues on top of the agenda. All the heads of states who started their inaugural speeches, the first thing was talking about Palestine and, of course, the United States decision to move its embassy and to acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and of course talking about the rights of the Palestinian people. We have also the issue of Yemen, we have the issue of Iraq, Syria, and of course Iran and Turkey and Qatar. So there are so many things on the plate of the summit this year. The importance of it and of it being held in Saudi Arabia, how do you see that?
Well, as you have said, the situation in the whole region is very, very complicated now. There's too much bloodshed. And I think that the Arab leaders are now, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said, that no one now is beyond this threat. We are all under the same threat now, except some regional countries who are supporting terrorism. Of course, the fact that it's in Dhahran in Saudi Arabia is very important. It's because Saudi Arabia is a major Arab country, just like Egypt, and it's trying to draw, in a way or another, its new political system and its new regional diplomatic routes. So I think that the fact that at this time all the Arab leaders are gathered there, I think that this summit is very special because it comes at a time where a few hours ago one of the major capitals of the Arab world, one of the oldest one, which is Damascus, was hit and severely hit with all these missiles a few days ago. And this was, I think, it was also a message for all the Arab countries before the meeting, is that one of your symbols, the Arab, which is Damascus, is being hit in the heart. And this was a message that, are you ready to be unified? And I think this was the real message that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave today. It was about, first of all, it's about Syria, that we cannot accept that the fate of such a country in the Arab world will be decided by the outside world. Unfortunately, the policies of several countries in the region have led to this, especially in the Arab world. Of course, President Sisi, as we know him, he doesn't like to
specify a certain name. It was a general talk, but with significance.
Exactly. And it was a very harsh message for all these, but for us, the specialists in the media, we have to talk about it clearly. The threat comes from Qatar and Turkey. And it's not only in Syria, even in Libya. They are financing the terrorist groups there. So I think that the message was very clear this time. He was the only president to address this threat clearly and honestly. And I think that when you listen carefully to the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, it was in three parts.
Yes.
The first part was about Syria, and then he shifted it to the Palestinian issue, and then the third issue he came back to discuss Syria, Libya, Yemen.
And there were a bit also about Iran, where His Excellency mentioned that there are certain parties who are interfering in the regional affairs of their neighbors, and they are not really abiding the peacefulness of being neighbors and the grace of the peaceful existence. And also this was all said in a very diplomatic way.
Of course,
and definitely that means Iran.
When he spoke about Yemen, and he said that we cannot accept, he repeated 3 times, that Saudi Arabia would be hit with ballistic missiles, because some forces in Yemen are asking the help of an outside force. We all know that these missiles are guided by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard there. We're not telling a secret, everyone knows it. So I think that he gave the message about Iran interfering in the Gulf states in this particular region, I mean by that Yemen.
Yes.
And of course he said about the fate of Syria, that 3 countries, which is Russia, Iran and Turkey, had the meeting to decide the fate of Syria. And this was also a big disgrace for the Arab countries, because it's very important to take part in such conferences, how they arrived to this point. So President Sisi is giving them the alarm that it's time to act, it's time to have a voice heard in this region. We all know that that we in Egypt and our armed forces are fighting terrorism with all the capacities we have in Sinai, but we won't be able to do it for a long time alone. We have to be united in all this. We have a very important role in this region as the whole Arab countries. And one of the unfortunate things, for example, that still the seat of Syria is void in the Arab League. I think that President Sisi gave a clear message that the opposition and the government should be united to find a solution immediately. And I think that now that countries like Qatar, for example, who are known for their role, and the Gulf states have taken real important steps to make barrage for it to stop its efforts to destroy the sovereignty of the Arab countries. I think we have to push for the next level, for the next step, which is organizing a new diplomatic front. I was glad that, for example, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, has stated that obviously we will have to see the future of Syria with the presence of Bashar al-Assad. I think this is a new way to look at things, realistic way. It's open for the cooperation because we have a situation on the ground. We have a government in Damascus, and the other part is asking for destroying the sovereignty of Syria.
Yes, and they stressed on the political solution rather than the military one, and that means negotiations between the various parties. But with all the threat from the Western world, especially that during the United Nations Security Council, the representative of the United States said that if Syria returns, we're ready to re-attack. And that's very dangerous. That's a very dangerous statement. How do you see that?
It's amazing that this statement is made within the UN, and in the same time it doesn't respect the international law or the UN itself, because the attack that took place 2 days ago, I didn't see any UN resolutions about it. We just heard statements from Washington, London and Paris, and the attack was given to green light. What about the UN? What about the UN Security Council?
And inspecting the sites before bombarding it.
What's amazing that today they're saying, well, we will start investigating. So why from the first place did you make this attack? And this is the logical path. You investigate and then you decide. And this is what Moscow asked for, and President Vladimir Putin said it before. Well, the zone is secure. You can call any international commission from any countries you wish, any experts to come. We will secure it for you. But apparently, there are some lobbies in these. I'm not talking about the administrations. I'm talking about some lobbies within some administrations. Because I think President Trump, for example, a few weeks ago, he said, we will withdraw our forces from Syria. And then suddenly he decided to attack Syria. So I think that some lobbies are acting in a way or another to push for a confrontation in the Middle East, for an escalation. And I'm afraid that it's what you just said about Nikki Haley, the ambassador of the United States in the UN Security Council. She contradicts in a way or another what President Trump said 2 days ago when he said the mission is accomplished. He just said it yesterday. Today they said, no, we are waiting we want to withdraw our troops until the mission will be accomplished. So I think that there is something wrong within the decision makers in Washington about Syria, something very dangerous. And it has to be dealt seriously because it could lead to an escalation with Russia, a worldwide conflict. So, and this is where we come to the point of the Arab Summit that we have to have a united voice, because we cannot forget that there is countries on the list. Once they will finish with Syria, they will go to fight
another one and another one to topple the various
Of course.
regimes. Well, Doctor, we'll continue talking to you, but right now I have on the phone Dr. Nurhan Sheikh, Professor of Political Science. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Doctor, now the Arab League leaders have a lot on their plates today. What do you think will be the first topics to be discussed?
It is difficult to determine a first topic because actually all the topics are very important and very critical. The summit comes in a very critical situation. The scene is very complicated. I think the Palestinian issue is highly important, as we are all following what is going on in Gaza and Palestine. So it's a top priority. At the same time, what happened in Syria is also important. That strikes from United States, Britain, France shouldn't go like that or shouldn't pass away like that. I think the summit should have some sharp decisions or at least a recommendation concerning that. The other files also very critical, terrorist one, Libya, Yemen, all of it are actually very important, and we are expecting a lot from the summit concerning all those files.
Doctor, today we're expecting also the recommendations. What do you think might be on the list of it, in a sense?
I think it's most of the files, except the Palestinian one, there are many disagreements among the other files. You know, Qatar is still a problem, a big problem among Arab home, because they are supporting terrorist activities and terrorist organizations like Muslim Brotherhood, etc. So I think Qatar is a big problem, and maybe will not be able to reach a consensus concerning some files like Syria, like terrorism, fighting terrorism also because of the Qatar policies. But hopefully we can reach some recommendation which be like obligation for Qatar in the future.
Finally, how do you see the messages sent to the Arab world and to the summit by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in his inaugural speech?
It was a very strong message and a clear one that we, as all Arab, having critical challenges, critical threats. We are in a critical moment, and we are the one who will decide our future and our next generation future by our policies and attitude. And it's a big responsibility for all, and all Arabs should carry that responsibility.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Nurhani Sheikh, Professor of Political Science. Thank you very much for this phone call, Doctor. And we continue our interview with Dr. Cherif Amir, geopolitical analyst, Paris University. We were speaking about some of the important issues to be discussed, and you were talking about Qatar, you were talking about Iran. And when returning back to His Excellency's, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's speech, when he spoke about Palestine, he spoke about the open wound that's bleeding, and he spoke about the martyrs who are falling every day, and how that the cause, we're losing the Palestinian cause, and that all the international decisions and resolutions haven't been employed yet. He was talking about the occupation of Palestine, about the division as well. So how do you read the President's speech when it comes to Palestine?
First of all, if you let me make a short comment,
Yes.
it was, before talking about the Palestinian issue, President Sisi highlighted something very important that none of the presidents, with all our respect to them, highlighted. There is a foreign force occupying some Arab territories.
Yes.
And I mean,
that was the first thing at the beginning of the
Exactly.
speech, following, of course, the welcoming and thanking.
And intervening in their borders and occupying
Yes, indeed,
territories.
yes.
And he meant by that Turkey,
Yes.
in Afrin and in Iraq.
Yes.
So I think this is, it was, for me as an Egyptian, it was very, made me proud that our president is very aware of all these topics and giving a stern warning that we won't let these things happen. If we are in a state of weakness today, we won't be in a state of
Yes.
weakness tomorrow.
Indeed.
About the Palestinian issue, of course, he gave a detailed map in few minutes about what's going on. There is a division. He gave the sickness and what's happening after. There is a division inside the Palestinian camp. Therefore, Israel is taking all the steps that it could take an advantage now to minimize the Palestinian case into some negotiations about some small territories, and that's it. And during this division, there will be many people killed, many people arrested, and of course, within all these threats in the Middle East, we will see also Israel acting against other Hezbollah in Lebanon, for example. So I think that President Sisi, when he said this is the wound, exactly this is the wound because it's bleeding and no one is taking care of the source. In Egypt, we have made all the possible efforts to unite the Palestinian camp because once they will be united, Israel will be forced by all the means to abide to the international law and to accept negotiations, to accept to discuss the process. But until now, the Gaza, we are seeing what's going on every now and then, and people being killed. And who's governing Gaza? We don't know anymore. They're following Qatar or following Iran or following Turkey, or they want to listen to Egypt. They didn't made their decision yet. I don't know when they will make their decision until the people are killed. You're giving all the excuses for the other part to take all this until it came to Jerusalem. And when the United States, when President Trump made the decision to transfer the embassy to Jerusalem and to recognize Jerusalem as the united capital of the state of Israel, well, they knew that there will be no harsh response from the Arab countries and the Palestinians because they are divided. If they made the calculations and they said, well, there will be huge response by the people, there will be a very very difficult times for the American interests in the Middle East economically, I mean, they will make the right calculations and they will not make this move. But they made it now because they're sure that no one will react. So I think that from all what we are seeing now, the problem as Arab countries, we have to find a common ground to endorse the Palestinian Authority, to endorse President Mahmoud Abbas Abu Mazen, who's the legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, and we have to make it clear to the outside world, to the international community, that we are not willing to accept any more unilateral steps from whether Israel or whether the United States. That's why I think that the weakness of the Arab camp, the weakness and the division within the Palestinians is just the open door for all this deterioration and this bloodshed. They have to know the responsibles in Gaza and in Ramallah that this blood that is being spilled everywhere is their responsibility. They have to act quickly. Egypt is an important mediator in this region, and we showed it before, and we are prepared to play our role again and again. And there is now an excellent president who knows very well what he's doing, which is President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. So they have to take the opportunity and listen to them, and listen to the Egyptian administration. What we will tell them is time to do. Unify, and then you will have a strong case, and Egypt is willing to defend it in the UN Security Council and everywhere.
One of the issues also that the President stressed on in his speech is terrorism and sectarianism. And he stressed on it that it's not just in Egypt, but it's throughout the Arab world, from Syria to Yemen and Libya. And he talked about how this is endangering the existence, that this is a comprehensive war, that we are leading a war against terrorism. And that would lead us to the cooperation between the Arab countries countering terrorism, especially now that many of them, as many of the Daesh terrorists now are leaving Syria, are leaving Iraq, so they are going down to the rest of the Arab world, including Egypt. Yes. So how can we counter that through the Arab League?
First of all, I was very amazed that President Sisi made a comment about the sectarian. No one talked about that. Everyone talks about terrorism, but he highlighted sectarian, because unfortunately in the Arab world we have fallen into this sectarian conflict between the Shia and the Sunnis, and we have seen that Iran is taking advantage of that and doing a great job now, because again, for the division. The second point is that President Sisi made it clear that terrorism indeed is now at the doorsteps of every Arab country. Yes. There is no country that could say that they are not threatened by.
No one is safe. No. Even the West, they are not safe.
Of course, the West, they are suffering now from the terrorists coming back. They have their citizenship. Like in France, they had 1,200 terrorists in Syria, and they want to come back. And now they're trying to find a solution how to eliminate them through the special forces on the ground in Syria, so they won't accept them in their territories. It's the same thing in Belgium and England. So I think that, as you said, they're leaving the parts of Syria and Iraq and going down, and they're heading to Egypt. That's why I'm saying that we are having now, especially our armed forces, they are tackling the very hard task in the Middle East. If you have remarks, there is an important point. The night there was this attack against Syria, yes, there was an attack in the same time in Sinai against us, as if the green light was given to all the terrorist groups to act. It was very clear that they got a moral boosting. Now that Syria is being hit, why not attack the Egyptian army? They didn't do it since we started the comprehensive operation in Sinai 2018. Yes. And they dare do it. And unfortunately, we had 8 martyrs among our brave men there. And fortunately, they fought and they repelled the attack. But the attack in itself, it means that these people are being also boosted into some region, and it's Sinai. I know, I won't say that I hope, no, I know that we are capable of fighting these terrorists in Sinai, and we will win. But it won't happen today, and it won't happen very quickly, because we are fighting, as President Sisi said, there is not only, he said, there's a chain, and the last chain is the guy who's, or the terrorist who's having the arms. But we have to begin from the beginning. The who recruited him, the one who gave him the money, the one who worked to make him convinced that he has to kill innocent people for any other cause.
It's an entire institution,
exactly.
With financial training, recruiting.
Ideological.
It's a big institution created just for terrorism.
Exactly. So we are fighting a whole institution with also foreign...
And they have a lot of money.
And of course, a lot of money and foreign advisors, because...
And some maybe also as well support from certain countries, important, influential countries as well.
Yeah, of course. Well, we have seen it before, that some, even in the statements of our armed forces, they said there were foreign elements. They didn't specify their nationalities. Part of the groups.
Yes.
And this is a clear message that there is a huge plan for remaking the Middle East, to divide Egypt, to divide the region, in sectarian way and in geopolitical way. So I'm very proud that we are aware. We have a leadership which is aware and highlighted all these problems in few minutes. I think that the message is clear now. It's a matter of life or death for many countries. President Sisi said it since
for
the
entire Arab world.
Exactly. He said from the start of the liberation era. Now, for the first time, we're living a question of life or death, and we have to make a decision.
Well, unfortunately, the time of the episode is out. I'd like to thank you very much to Dr. Cherif Amir, the geopolitical analyst at Paris University. Thank you very much for this insight.
Thank you.
This ends Cairo local time, but we still have an open session for the coverage of NILE TV for the 29th Summit of the Arab League. So please stay tuned for more news and details about the Arab Summit in Saudi Arabia.
تتطلع إلينا أجيال جديدة تحلم بفرصة العيش الكريم في ظل منظومة دولية عادلة وقادرة على مواجهة تحديات فرضتها الطبيعة كتغير المناخ والكوارث الطبيعية والأمراض والأوبئة وأخرى من صنع البشر كالحروب والإرهاب. فالمنطقة العربية باتت اليوم بؤرة لبعض أشد الحروب الأهلية ضراوة، وأصبحت هي الأكثر تعرضاً لخطر الإرهاب، وبات واحد من كل 3 لاجئين في العالم عربياً. مصر إذن تقع على حافة أخطر بؤر الأزمات في العالم، وقدرها أن تشق طريقها بتقع في ظل مخاطر غير مسبوقة. إن مصر التي تخوض حرباً ضروساً لاستئصال الإرهاب من أرضها ملتزمة بمواجهته وتعقبه والقضاء عليه بشكل نهائي وحاسم حيثما وجد، وتستأصل أسبابه وجذوره، وتواجه بلا مواربة كل من يدعمه أو يموله أو يوفر له منابر سياسية أو إعلامية. فلا مجال لأي حديث جدي عن مصداقية نظام دولي يكيل بمكيالين ويحارب الإرهاب في الوقت الذي يتسامح فيه مع داعميه، بل ويشركوا في نقاشات حول سبل مواجهة خطر هم صناعه في الأساس. وتحيا مصر، تحيا مصر، تحيا مصر.
عربي وقول الله. إن الفكر لمن شاء الله. الأرض بتتكلم عربي وقول الله. إن الفكر لمن شاء الله. ما تطولش معاك الأرض 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 بتتكلم عربي. أصلك مية وأصلك طين. الأرض 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 بتتكلم عربي. الأرض بتتكلم عربي. الأرض بتتكلم عربي. الأرض بتتكلم عربي. وجد وشوق الفرح